All right, learner. You got your coffee stain copy of Case in Point ready. We're about to, deep dive into this whole world of consulting interviews.
Yeah, it's a wild world.
And trust me, we're not just skimming the surface here.
Think of this as your case in point cheat sheet.
Ooh, I like that.
All the good stuff, none of the fluff.
Exactly. And you'll find that Cosentino, he doesn't waste any time.
Nope.
He dives right into it.
Right into the deep end.
The infamous why consulting question? You know,
Oh, yeah.
the one that can make or break your interview?
Make it or break it, for sure.
What's fascinating here is it's not just about having good reasons.
It's the delivery.
Yeah, it's about how you deliver them.
He paints this picture
Okay.
of a startled gazelle. You know when the interviewer asks and your eyes are darting around like you've never even considered why you're there?
Oh, I've been that gazelle.
We've all been there.
Not my finest moment.
But he hammers this point home. You got to nail this answer instantly with confidence, conviction.
So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
Exactly. It's like a seasoned lawyer presenting a closing argument.
Okay.
They've internalized the case so deeply that it just exudes confidence.
It's like having that perfect comeback ready.
Oh, yeah.
But for your career aspirations.
Exactly.
And that effortless delivery.
That's what they're looking for.
That's what shows them you're serious. But what happens when the interviewer throws a curveball? Specifically, that you're wrong moment.
Ah, yes. The dreaded pushback.
Ugh, I hate him.
It can feel like a punch to the gut. But Cosentino, he flips the script on this one.
Okay, interesting.
He wants you to reframe it. It's often a test.
Okay, I'm listening.
They want to see how you handle pressure. Do you crumble? Do you get defensive? Or do you stand your ground?
It's about thinking on your feet, right? Like that AHA moment.
Yes.
But you gotta own it. Don't let it rattle you.
Precisely. And you know what's even more impressive? The ability to admit when you've missed something.
Ooh, that's hard.
To shift gears and say, okay, I see where you're coming from. That changes things.
That takes some serious guts.
It does.
But it shows you're adaptable, open to new information.
Exactly.
And isn't that what consulting is all about?
100%. Now, Cosentino gets real about the challenges faced by international students.
Yeah, this is huge.
And it's not just about perfecting your English.
It's about navigating a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. He shares an anecdote about this brilliant student. Aced the practice cases,
Wow.
but struggled in the actual interviews because his accent made it really difficult to keep up with native English speakers.
So how do you overcome that? I mean, that's a tough one.
He talks about playing the long game. You can leverage your unique background,
Okay.
your global perspective. That's a strength.
Right.
Network strategically build those connections early on.
Right.
And when it comes to summer internships,
They're so competitive.
treat it like boot camp, case-cracking boot camp.
Oh, I love that.
He even suggests using those, alumni lunches
Oh, yeah?
to sneak in extra practice.
Smart.
I love it. So if you're an international student, case in point,
Upper.
secret weapon.
To navigating this whole crazy world of consulting. Now let's flip the script. What about those with years of industry experience? You'd think they'd have a leg up, right?
You'd think so, but Cosentino throws a curveball here. Some firms are actually wary of industry biases.
Interesting.
They are.
So it's almost like a disadvantage.
It can be.
It's like that saying, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right?
Exactly. Firms want fresh perspectives, people who can approach problems from all these different angles.
So they're looking for that rip right through it energy,
Yeah.
that genuine excitement for these complex problems. You'll find that Cosentino, he really emphasizes this. It's not about memorizing frameworks. It's about internalizing them.
It's about cultivating that problem-solving mindset.
Yes.
The kind of mindset that makes those practice cases feel like exciting puzzles, not dreaded exams.
Yes. It's about approaching the case with that genuine curiosity.
Yes.
And that eagerness to find the solution.
And that's what shines through in an interview.
Absolutely. It's not about, putting on a show.
Right.
It's about letting your genuine problem-solving skills,
Yeah.
take center stage. Now, speaking of frameworks, Case in Point is famous for them.
It is.
But Cosentino reminds us that it's not about rigidly sticking to a script.
He actually cautions against that.
Oh, really?
He says, don't try to force it and don't use the same structure every time.
Okay, so how do we strike that balance between structure and flexibility?
Think of frameworks as like mental scaffolding,
Okay,
not a straitjacket.
I like that.
Cosentino emphasizes understanding those underlying principles and applying them creatively to each unique case.
So it's about adapting your approach, not shoehorning every problem into the same framework.
Exactly.
He even points out that the most effective frameworks are often the simplest ones.
Ooh,
It's true.
really?
Like just comparing short-term versus long-term implications or internal factors against external ones.
Okay.
It's about breaking down complexity in a way that makes sense for that particular situation.
He even encourages thinking outside that traditional framework box.
Yeah.
You'll find that he uses the profit formula as a framework itself.
The good old profit equals revenue minus costs.
Exactly.
But here's the key. He cautions against turning it into this rigid checklist.
Oh, right.
It's not just about listing out revenue streams and cost drivers. It's about going deeper.
Analyzing those relationships.
Yes.
Pinpointing those levers that really drive profitability. Now, for those just starting their case interview prep,
Yes.
and I see you learner with your fresh notebook,
Oh, yeah.
Cosentino has one golden rule.
Hit us with it. I want to hear it.
Practice, practice, practice.
Of course.
He dedicates a huge chunk of the book to practice cases.
For good reason.
For a good reason. That's like anything else. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
So true.
He even suggests recording yourself like answering cases out loud.
Oh, gosh.
I know.
Painful.
Listen to your own voice can be brutal.
The worst.
But you know what? It's so valuable.
It is.
It helps you catch those little verbal tics.
The ums and ahs.
The ums, the ahs, the moments where you stumble or get stuck.
Right.
And it forces you to articulate your thoughts clearly and concisely.
Which is crucial.
Crucial in an interview. And he's also a big advocate for practicing with others.
Okay. Yeah.
Find a study buddy, join a case interview club, even rope in your friends and family.
Why not?
The key is to simulate that interview environment as much as possible.
Yeah. Get comfortable with the hot seat.
The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become with the format, with the frameworks, with that whole flow.
Yeah, you want to exude that confidence.
Exactly. And that confidence will shine through when it matters most.
Now, let's talk about note-taking. Cosentino, he encourages getting creative with it.
Yes, he does.
We're not talking about just bullet points here.
We are not.
Are we?
He actually suggests incorporating diagrams and charts.
Ooh, I love that. It's about visualizing the problem, right?
Yes.
Organizing your thoughts and then communicating your ideas more effectively.
He gives this great example of using a simple chart to just map out these different pricing strategies.
Okay.
You've got competitive analysis, cost-based pricing, price-based costing.
Right.
It makes the information crystal clear.
And it's not about creating these elaborate works of art.
No.
It's about using visuals strategically to tell a story.
To walk the interviewer through your thought process.
Exactly. It shows you can think visually and that you can communicate effectively.
Both essential in consulting.
Absolutely. Now let's get into some specific types of case questions.
Okay.
For market sizing questions, you know those, how many golf balls fit in a Boeing 747?
Oh, yeah, the classics.
Brain teasers.
Love those.
Cosentino emphasizes starting with a clear, logical framework.
He suggests breaking down the market into smaller, more manageable segments.
Oh.
So, for example, if you're trying to estimate the market for electric scooters in a city,
Okay.
you might start by thinking about the number of scooter-friendly streets in a single neighborhood.
Okay.
Then you could extrapolate that to the entire city, factoring in things like population density and transportation patterns.
And don't forget those bike lanes.
Exactly. And he stresses the importance of making your assumptions very clear.
So you don't just throw out numbers.
Don't just throw out numbers.
Oh, you got to back it up.
You got to explain the why behind them. Show them that you're thinking it through.
That you're not pulling numbers out of thin air.
Exactly.
Okay, what about those written case questions?
Oh, yeah.
Those can feel like a whole different beast.
They can. Absolutely. And
Mhm.
Cosentino offers some great advice for tackling those too.
Okay, good.
He points out that written cases are often designed to test your ability to synthesize information
Okay.
from different sources and then communicate your findings effectively.
So it's not just about, like, crunching numbers.
It's not just about the numbers.
It's about telling a story with that data.
Telling a compelling story.
Right.
And he suggests starting by reading that executive summary
Oh, good tip.
to get that big picture understanding of the case.
Get the lay of the land
Exactly.
before you dive into the weeds.
Then focus on those exhibits.
Okay.
The charts, graphs, they often reveal the juiciest insights.
Your good stuff.
He also encourages you to practice presenting your findings
Yeah.
clearly and concisely.
So it's like you're giving a mini presentation.
Exactly. Imagine you're delivering this to the interviewer. And remember, some firms actually use written cases to assess teamwork.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Pay close attention to how you interact with the other candidates.
Collaboration is key.
Collaboration is key. Be respectful. Be open to different perspectives.
Bounce ideas off each other.
And don't be afraid to build on each other's ideas. Because at the end of the day, they're not just looking for someone who can crack the case solo.
Right.
They're looking for someone who can thrive in a collaborative, team-oriented environment.
Now, throughout Case in Point, Cosentino returns to this idea of authenticity.
Oh, yeah.
Letting your personality shine through is just as important as nailing those frameworks.
He reminds you that interviewers, they don't want robots. They want to see the real you.
Oh, thank goodness.
Your passions, your quirks, that unique perspective you bring to the table.
It's about showing them you're not just like a walking, talking framework machine, right? You're a dynamic individual who'd bring something special to the team.
Exactly. And that actually ties into another gem from Cosentino, being genuine about your weaknesses. He talks about that dreaded interview question. Tell me about a time you failed.
Ugh, my least favorite. Okay, so how do you handle that? Because it feels so counterintuitive to talk about failing when you're trying to impress.
Right. It feels wrong.
Okay.
But Cosentino, he sees it as an opportunity.
Okay, interesting.
It's not about dodging the question or like trying to spin it into a success story.
Right.
It's about showing self-awareness, resilience.
So own your mistakes.
Own them.
But don't dwell.
Don't dwell on them, yeah. Explain what you learned, how you've grown, how it shaped you.
It's about showing them that you're not this, like, infallible consultant robot.
Right. You're human.
You're a human, and you've learned and adapted along the way.
And that humility, that willingness to admit, hey, I don't have all the answers, that's huge in consulting.
It's huge. Now, let's talk about asking good questions.
Yeah.
Because Cosentino, he's a big proponent of this, and it's not just something you tack on at the end, right?
Not at all.
It's got to be woven throughout the entire interview.
He emphasizes that asking insightful questions shows you're engaged, you're curious, you're really trying to understand the nuances of the problem.
It's like you're piecing together this puzzle, and you need those missing pieces to see the whole picture.
Exactly. And sometimes those well-placed questions uncover something crucial that wasn't explicitly stated.
It shows you're not just waiting for information to be spoon-fed to you, you're actively digging for it.
He gives a great example of a student tackling a case about a struggling publishing company. The interviewer asks about cost-cutting, right?
Okay, the classic.
And the student, she doesn't just jump into solutions.
Oh, good for her.
She pauses and asks, can we benchmark our costs against competitors?
Brilliant. That changes everything.
It completely changes the direction. It broadens the scope. She's thinking about competitive analysis, industry standard.
Strategic thinking. It's about digging deeper, going beyond just the surface level. Now, Case in Point covers a ton of scenarios, but there's one thing Cosentino brings up again and again.
What's that?
Focus on the client's objectives. Because every case is about solving a real-world problem for a real client. Don't get so lost in the weeds of frameworks and data that you lose sight of that.
It's easy to do, but yeah, the client should be your guiding star.
Absolutely. And here's something else I appreciate from Cosentino. Sometimes the simplest solutions, they're the best ones.
Don't overcomplicate things.
You don't need to wow them with jargon or super complex analysis. Just focus on delivering clear, actionable recommendations.
Practicality over showmanship. I like that.
Always. Well, learner, as we wrap up our deep dive into Case in Point, I'm feeling energized. I'm ready to go out there and tackle those cases.
Yeah.
What's the biggest takeaway you want to leave our listeners with today?
Remember, the case interview isn't just an evaluation, it's an opportunity.
Oh, I like that.
It's your chance to showcase your skills, your experience, your unique way of thinking. And beyond that, it's a chance to have a conversation, to connect with experienced consultants, get a feel for the company culture.
So go into it with confidence, be prepared, be adaptable, but most importantly,
be yourself.
Because at the end of the day, that's how you truly shine.
That's how you land that dream job.
That's how you crush it. All right, learner, now go out there and crack some cases.